Welcome back. You're watching 101. We're speaking with writer and activist Naomi Wolf. Your 1991 book, The Beauty Myth, was a big turning point. I guess it was a defining moment for you when it came to putting yourself into a path and on the map.
Yeah. Well, it was my first book, and it was, for a lot of reasons, mostly having to do with people being ready for the message. It was a success in the sense that it was published in many countries.
What prompted it? What prompted you to write that?
Well, I don't think it's possible to be a woman who's thoughtful in this culture without giving a lot of attention to how beauty affects your sense of self and your sense of opportunity in the world, your sense of being perceived or not perceived or misperceived. But most immediately I wrote it because I was at Yale, I was an undergraduate, and I was surrounded by such brilliant, idealistic young women who should have been the most courageous and sort of, confident women ever because they inherited the gains of the women's movement. But so many of them, were suffering from eating disorders or exercise fixations and deeply preoccupied with, what the scale said that morning or what they'd eaten. And it occurred to me that there was a dynamic going on where every time women took a great leap forward, an ideology arose to push them back.
America, which is always touted as the most progressive country in the world, or at least generally is, finally elected a black president. But it was a race between a black president and the first female president. As someone who does, campaign for women's rights, were you at all disappointed that it wasn't a woman president?
Look, all things being equal, if I thought they were exactly matched in their qualifications, of course it would be very delightful to have a woman president, but it's also very delightful to have an African American president. It's an embarrassment of riches. What I'd like is for us to be at the point where it's no longer news.
I know you were pretty disappointed with the way the fashion and beauty industry approached women's needs and distorted, I guess, what their goals should be. When you look at the way the beauty and fashion industry has evolved, do you think that any sensitivity has come in?
There are definitely mixed results. Certainly there's a lot more awareness now than there was, 15 years ago, 18 years ago when I wrote the book. I think it's much more commonplace for women or girls growing up to know that these images are manufactured and that they're manipulated by computers and to question them. At the same time, some of the pressures have gotten worse. There's more cosmetic surgery. It's certainly being exported. That ideal is being exported to the developing world. Those technologies, especially for the elite, are being more and more taken up. The eye surgery in Korea, the lightening creams in Africa, and so on. So it's mixed.
How would you suggest someone balances the need to look after themselves or want to look their best and not succumb to what you'd consider adverse pressures that might be distorting their true inner self? That's
a great question. I don't believe we should ever or can ever reject an aesthetic relationship to the world. I mean, we're in bodies and we respond to beauty as we see it. So in the 70s, feminists in the West said, well, just ignore all of that and wear Birkenstocks, and that did not solve the problem. But I have seen that there's a great deal more peace to be had among women, but I think among men too, because it's starting to affect them as well. When they start to think, well, I'm going to decide what beauty means to me. I'm going to take care of myself because I'm valuable, and I'm going to recognize these images as being constructed for corporate reasons, for financial reasons, rather than having some profound truth that is transcendent. And for people to trust their own perceptions and trust that they're allowed to see beauty where they want to, including in themselves.
Now, are you totally against cosmetic surgery?
Oh, cosmetic surgery, I thought you were going to say cosmetics. There's not a page in The Beauty Myth where I tell women what to do, because I believe choice is absolutely fundamental. But I do think women should be respected enough to be told the dangers. And my objection to cosmetic surgery is that they weren't being told the dangers, and also that they didn't feel that it was a choice, often, if, for instance, they felt their jobs depended on it or their identity. But look, 30 years from now...
Would you consider it?
What's the world going to be like? I mean, I hope I never feel the need to, but things evolve so quickly.
There's more education as well, I guess, on it now as well. Now, I wonder, the influences you had on you. Who did you see as your mentors?
Well, my mom was a terrific influence, but definitely Germaine Greer, who wrote such kind of in-your-face prose. She was fearless, and that was very impressive to me. And Erica Jong was a real mentor, and is. She's a friend, and she sort of took me under her wing when I just came out with my first book and recognized, what was happening to me from what had happened to her. She wrote a book that was very successful when she was very young and was very much attacked for it. So she's been very supportive.
In terms of other defining moments then, obviously there was the success of your books and your rise, your prominence. What do you see as your defining moments?
My defining moments? Well, I mean, they're definitely not the public defining moments. The defining moments for me were getting married and having my daughter and having my son. They're pretty much centered around family life, and yeah.
Do you get, obviously you're much in demand, you're a public figure now, or have been for some time. Do you get the time to do the things that you wanted for yourself? Is there real Naomi Wolf time?
Well, I always want more family time. I always want more time with my children and my partner. But I'm pretty lucky. I'm self-employed, and so today I got to pick up Joey at school. And in that respect, I'm so much more. Every mom, every dad should be able to have more of a work-family balance. I can't complain.
And you've been more politically active over the years, more recent years. Is that something that you'll continue down the path of? Is it still something that appeals to you? Feel there's scope to make change?
I actually hate political activism. It's not natural to me. I'm much more comfortable typing away on my computer, sort of wandering in a fog, the way writers tend to do. I feel that it's necessary, but I really look forward to the day when we don't have to do it. I mean, can you imagine what we spent the last 8 years doing? Or the last 3 years? The last 3 years I've been saying, wake up, the Constitution is being shredded. It makes me really angry that we would have to spend any time defending the Constitution at this point. I mean, same thing with women. I spend years saying rape is bad. Women should be treated equally with men. I mean, this is like so elemental. I'm frustrated that this is not, decades or centuries in the past.
Is there any one particular project that's been outstanding, something you've wanted to really take care of and you've not had a chance yet?
Yes. I co-founded an Ethical Leadership Institute, which has 200 acres in the Hudson River Valley. And whenever I go to the Middle East, I'm aware that there are vested interests that really don't want people in civil society to encounter each other and build bonds, especially in Israel and Palestine. So I want to get a grant to airlift representatives of civil society on both sides, teachers, medical people, doctors and nurses, journalists, and their families, and airlift them to my beautiful 200 acres in the Hudson River Valley, away from the press, away from the vested interests, away from the leadership and the politicians, and let them, do the things that smart people do when they're...
Create like a commune of people where they can actually bypass or get past the differences, you mean?
Well, I wouldn't have them live there. I would bring them over for a month,
okay,
or 6 weeks. We do retreats up there, and what we find is that when people are away from the camera and away from the politicians and the journalists in a beautiful setting, a lot of good things can happen. And I've met so many extraordinary people on both sides of this divide with so many good ideas, and there's physically nowhere for them to meet. In Israel and the occupied territories, there's nowhere safe that you could convene such gathering. There are too many people who don't want it to happen. So that's on my list.
Let's hope someone who's financially empowered is listening and might do this.
Yes, yes. Can I add one more thing?
Please.
This sort of journey to Israel when I was 15, and then the counter journey when I was 20 to Palestine and Lebanon. I would like to start a program where American Jewish teenagers go to, they can go to Israel, fine, but then they go to the occupied territories and they see what I saw there. And that I want to start a program where they do a kind of service and learning tour where they do whatever needs to be done. They stay in people's homes. They learn some Arabic. They learn about Islam. You know, they serve the community, and you know, vice versa would be lovely too. But you know, when the time is right. But we have to find a way, you know, to reach each other.
How would you like to be remembered? What would you like your legacy to be? Always a difficult question for someone who's young.
But no, it's easy. Thank you very much. I mean, this may sound very trite, but you know, really, I would like to be remembered as a good mother.
More power to you, Naomi. Thank you very much. Thank you.